Well, whew, I had this all scheduled. I thought I had everything ready to go, and my internet was not working at exactly 5 o'clock. So it's 5:03, and I apologize. Although that's kind of been my MO through life, it seems like I was sitting here for 15 minutes before 5, and I waited for 5 o'clock, and then it's showing up late. So I hope some of you are still with me. If you were planning on joining me at 5 o'clock today for more to come with Dee Sarton, I'm Dee. And I'm so glad to be with you this afternoon. I've enjoyed this week of studying and working to put this podcast together to think about the 5 things that we can do to make this season of life the best ever. Now, I want to give you a secret. These 5 things are my 5 things. These are 5 things that I've really thought about in terms of the things that I want to focus on for the last decades of my life. I've just turned 70, and I know some of you are younger than that. I've talked to some of you in the comments in your 60s, and even some younger and some older. And so it really doesn't matter really exactly where we're starting here if we're starting to think about the truth that starts to dawn on us that time is finite. And our time on this earth is finite. So, is there really more to come, or do we just kind of live in this fatalist attitude that, well, things are winding down, the old body's starting to crumble? And yeah, it starts to show some signs of that. And I know some of you are really struggling with some of those things. And my heart's with you because I'm starting to realize that things aren't the way they used to be. And that's frustrating. But, I read something the other day. I'll see if I can find it. I'm not less valuable because I am less capable. And I believe that. I think that this is a season of life when we are so valuable. We're valuable to the people that we love. We're valuable to society because we've had time to watch and learn and see how things go and figure out maybe what we need to do differently or better as a country, as a culture, as a community, as a neighborhood, those things, and how maybe we can be better contributors at this stage of the game. So those are some of the things that make us very valuable. And I'm going to talk about that today as I share these 5 things that I think for me will guarantee that these next years are valuable, are worthwhile, are worth living. And I think that's what I hear from so many people in my age group. I've had a chance in the last few weeks to really talk to a lot of people that would be considered older. And it seems like all of us kind of want the same thing. We'd love to live a long life, and we've already been blessed with a long life. I mean, the gift of age is a gift not everyone gets. I've already talked about that. And so we have this gift, but we want it to count. We don't want to just live it out. We'd like to figure that out, but you know what? It's sometimes hard to know our purpose at this stage because maybe your purpose has really changed, like mine has changed. My purpose when I was broadcasting for 40 years, that was a real demand on my time, my energy, my thinking, and it was pretty clear what my purpose was in that role. It was to earn a living. It was to do my very best. And I wanted to glorify God in that effort. So all of those things were kind of wrapped up into one, but it was a daily obligation. I mean, I had to go to work to help put food on the table. And I had to be in that mindset. And then when I retired from that, I went right back to work and worked teaching high school kids. Loved that so much. And I had another purpose, and that was real, but that was really obvious. It was just right in front of me. And every morning when my alarm clock went off, I knew exactly what I needed to do that day. And now that I've retired from that second career, it's a little different. It's like, okay, God, what do you have for me now? And exactly how can I best use these years that I have left to, frankly, enjoy this life, to embrace this gift, but then also to really be confident and know where I'm going, know that there truly is more to come. Even though my faith runs deep, and it has for many decades, and I've studied God's word, and I've got this assurance that there is more and that I can look forward to that, I find myself really needing to keep learning, keep growing, keep believing, keep deepening my understanding of the truths that have withstood the test of time in my life and the test of time in many, millions of lives before mine. So here we go. So here's these top 5 things. I'm going to see if I wonder. I would hoped I thought I turned on the chat so that I could see what you might be saying or asking. Because here's the thing: I would love it if you would share with me what are maybe your top 5 things, maybe even before you hear mine. What are the top 5 things, or maybe you just pick 2 or 3 that you are focusing on or that you want to focus on and get really started on, if you haven't already, that you know will improve and make these coming years the best ever. All right, well, here's my first one, and it would be faith. I just said probably the most important thing that I could say, and that is that I confidently want to know that on my last day, I know in my heart of hearts, in my mind, my soul, my heart, that there is more to come, that that's the hope that I live for. And there's a Bible verse that I have framed. I should have brought it in. It's real pretty. And the Bible verse is rich. It's Paul. And he's writing to the Ephesians, the Christians there. And he says, I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's people to grasp how wide, how long, and how deep is the love of Christ. It's an extravagant love. And when we embrace it, when we accept it, when we say yes to it, then we begin to experience that. And I don't want that to end in my old age. When you have kids, you're on your knees for your kids and you pray and you pray and you pray. Well, those prayers are powerful now too. And if we're rooted and established, if we've got that foundation, then we know we've got the experience. We've seen the Lord, that he is good. He's proved himself o'er and o'er. But let's just say you don't know that. I want to tell you, friend, it is never too late. It is never too late. Someday here on YouTube, I'll tell you the story of a woman that I knew and loved, and she did not receive the love of Christ until a couple days before she died I believe she was in her early 90s. I mean, these older people just inspire me in how he's at work in us, no matter what stage of life we're in. So that is the thing. I really want to just grow deeper and deeper in my faith. I don't want it to be stunted. I don't want to think I've arrived. I want to be hungry and learning every day. And that means I have to be in God's word. And that's, I just read out of Ephesians. I have had that underlined and colored, and I've shared it with so many people, because there's nothing I could wish for anyone more than that they know how wide, how long, and how deep is the extravagant love of Christ. Okay, so the second thing is, and it kind of goes along with this, is that as we grow, I think we all want to think we've learned from our mistakes. And I have made plenty, and I still do. So we call that wisdom, when you learn from your mistakes, and then you've got something valuable to pass along. Sometimes it's really valuable to tell your grandchildren how you messed up, but how you got out of the mess and how you've learned from it and you've moved on. And sometimes there's a deeper sense of the wisdom that we're gaining, because we're gaining wisdom that is what I saw somebody define recently as learning to live skillfully, not just taking it as it comes, not just hoping that we make good choices, but that we're learning how to be wise. And the Bible says that God stores up wisdom and he loves to lavish it on the upright, the people that are seeking after him, those who want to know. He gives the gift of wisdom, and it is a gift, and it is something that we can all ask for boldly. And that's what I really love. Our pastor was encouraging us this morning to pray boldly. And so I would just encourage you on 2 fronts. Let's talk to you that have been walking with the Lord for a long time. I would encourage you to pray boldly for wisdom. If you're in a season where you don't know where God's taking you, if you're not sure what your next step is, or if you're facing struggles or battles, ask God to give you wisdom in that, to make it evident that it's from him. It's beyond you. It's not because, I'm so smart or you're so smart. It's because God is so good, and he wants to give us his wisdom to live this life skillfully. And a lot of times that does involve him showing us the purpose of all things, the purpose for our struggles, the purpose for the battles that we might be in, and the purpose for our life, especially if it feels so hard, if we don't feel capable, if we feel trapped, we can't do the things we used to do. We don't seem to have the same abilities to give ourselves to others that maybe we used to have. And we forget that God, he wouldn't still have us here if he didn't have a purpose for us. The Lord wants us to number our days and to realize that those days are precious and that he has a plan for all of us. And so as we go through and we seek for his purpose and our purpose, it's not living aimlessly, just getting through the day, just day by day. It's asking again boldly, why am I still here? But not just asking the air, why am I still here? But asking God, why do you still have me here? What do you have for me to do? The Bible says that he created you and he has created good works for you to do. And that's exciting because I don't know about you, but anytime I do something it just feels good to do nice things, right? It just feels good to help somebody. It's a feel good kind of a thing. But when you get in a circumstance where you know that God has created the circumstances for you to do something, I don't care if you're a brand new Christian, a Christian that's walked with the Lord forever, or if you're someone who's just saying, God, show me yourself. I do want to know you if you're out there. And I do want to serve you if that is something that you have planned for me, but you've got to show me. Well, then when he starts to reveal those things, it is so exciting. I just started a book. This one, I've got so many back here that I'm going to be sharing with you over time. I just started this one. So I don't know. I've read other things from Dr. Henry Cloud. He wrote Boundaries years ago, and that was a really helpful book to me and was a good one back then. But this one is called Why I Believe. And when I just started it, oh, wow. I already start underlining things in here, but it's just so interesting to see what his approach is to this whole idea of purpose and believing and wanting to know what God has for you. So anyway, this is one, maybe if you want to read something, we can read it together, but that's a good one because we need to grapple with that. We need to tackle it and not just live aimlessly. So that's something I'm really focused on is this YouTube channel part of his purpose for me? I like to talk. Obviously, I'm a chatterbox. I do love to talk about my relationship with God. I love to hear what other people are thinking. I'm not afraid of tough questions. I've had them myself, so I don't mind engaging in that. I kind of I don't mind being on camera. It's getting a little harder as the years go by and the wrinkles get a little more prolific, but it is something I'm comfortable with. And I think it could be fun and hopefully beneficial. I know it could be beneficial to me because when I'm talking about or teaching something, I feel a very huge obligation to live it myself. So for that reason, I'm praying about it. I believe that God's leading me to do this YouTube channel, but I also know that I can get kind of prideful, and I need to be cautious about that, and I just need to rely on Him and not on my own understanding of these things. So I'm still looking for my purpose, but I'm focused on it, and I feel like I'm on a path and discovering day by day more that yes, indeed, God is not done with me yet, and He's not done with you yet. There is something He has for you. And so, I'd encourage you. One thing I'll mention is many of you are grandparents if you're watching this. And if you're not a grandparent, then you have people in your life who would love it if you would adopt their children, or maybe the neighborhood kids in a local grade school. They just are desperate for the kind of attention that we can give children at this age. And so I just encourage you, I did read one thing I wanted to pass along, and I'll do a whole podcast on this soon, but there's some new research that's out that's basically telling us what we know already. Grandparents matter. Grandparents are a huge benefit to children. Do you know that they say that if a child has the intentional attention of a grandparent, that will increase their ability to live a fruitful life, have so many positive impacts. The influence of a grandparent can outlive the grandparent and last for decades, according to this research. And we provide something that is pretty unique in terms of the relationships that they can have. The first thing is that grandparents just have a way, usually, of providing emotional security. And I think some of that comes from, we've matured. We're mature adults. And so we have that stability that comes with maturity. We can also be such an encourager, to just love on them and tell them how special they are. And we see how hard they're working and we appreciate them. And those are fun ways of encouraging. Also, we can bring perspective to them because we've lived a long time and we can tell those stories about ourselves when we were younger and maybe some of the things that we wish we'd done differently or the things that worked pretty well for us and we want to pass along. Also, a big thing that grandparents can do is provide a sense of family identity. That is so crucial. God created the family to be this foundation, this stable factor in children's lives, and more children in our culture need that. So that's a pretty cool thing. And then the other thing is, and grandparents are probably well known for spoiling their grandkids. I have to be so careful because we live here with ours. And we're on a farm and they're right here and I want to spoil them all the time. But if I do, then the consequences I see, I can't give them candy all the time. I just can't do it. First of all, their mom would kill me if I did. But, I do think that grandparents can love in a way that is probably, I don't know, they say unconditional. I think unconditional love is hard. There's give and take. And sometimes as we get older, it can be really hard not to get something back, but it also can be so enriching to not necessarily need something back. We'd like it, but we can love even though maybe our grandchild is acting up or worse. I have an alpaca. She's one of my older alpacas, and she's kind of one of my favorites. Don't tell the others, but she did something last night that really broke my heart. She spit at me twice. And here's the deal. People ask me all the time, do your alpacas spit? And I usually say, oh, no, they spit at each other, but they don't spit at me. Well, she did. And I was flabbergasted. And I was pretty upset with her because I don't know. I'll explain it. Someday I'll take you out to my pasture with my alpacas and I can explain alpaca spit to you. It's really disgusting. But fortunately, she didn't splatter stuff on me too. It was more just I'm irritated with you. Let me get to my treats kind of a spit. But, but I still love her and she's an alpaca. And so sometimes when my grandkids are disrespectful or they do something that kind of breaks my heart, boy, I just love them more. And that's something we can offer. So anyway, that goes back to purpose. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about, and I will talk about a lot more. I have one friend who she FaceTimes with her grandchildren. They live all over the country. And she FaceTimes with them every week. And I thought, wow, what a blessing FaceTime is. I mean, it's not the same, but it's a really cool thing. I remember when I was a kid and I'd want to talk to my grandma, and it would cost a fortune to make a long distance phone call. And now we can have this face to face, just like you and I are having right now. And we can have that. And it is free. I mean, free basically. So anyway, there's cool ways to really have that special purpose. And even if it isn't your own grandchildren, I promise you, there are children in your church, in your neighborhood, in the school nearby who would just be so encouraged if an older adult would show them that kind of love that only we seem to be able to muster up at this stage of life. It's pretty special. Okay, health. So I wanted to talk to you about health because that's going to be another one of my focuses. And I've really, I used to teach aerobics and I managed health clubs and I was really into it when I was younger. And I'm still conscious of it. I mean, I try to pay attention to things, but I'm not a super duper like guru of health. And I love sugar and I've really got to get that out of my life. Sugar is poison. I believe it. I know it. I read all these books. I'm reading Outlive here. This is a good one. Um, Super Agers back there. I'm reading all these books, and that's one of the number one things they say is, sugar, it is not your friend. So maybe you can help me with that. Maybe if you've got some ideas on how you've kicked that habit, because it's a habit. Anyway, that is one of the things that I'm going to be looking at and focusing on more and a lot because I don't want Alzheimer's, and I know that dementia, Alzheimer's. I'm worried about my brain, and I think all of us are at this age. But something we really need to focus on if we want to try and do what we can to prevent those things. And boy, if you're worried about that, I'd love to hear more. It's something that weighs on me. I want to stay healthy in my brain as long as I live, and so that's a great motivator for me in terms of the sugar thing. But here's another thing: balance. I have become so aware of how important balance is. And that's another reason why I'm going to really focus on my health because a really healthy balance is a really good thing. I'm going to show you something. So, this is a stool that I've kept in this room for a while so that I could reach the books on the top behind me here. Well, I was on this stool a couple days ago and crash, and I went falling to the ground. Unfortunately, I have a pretty good pad underneath my carpet here, and I hit the edge of this desk and got a pretty good bruise to show for it. But I was so embarrassed. I mean, I don't even know how I felt. I mean, I just fell, and I fell hard. But that wasn't the first time. I would say in the last few months, I hate that question they ask, when you go into the doctor's office, have you fallen recently? Because now I have to say yes, because I have. I've fallen a few times. So I've been studying that and I've been looking at that. And I'm just going to share one tip with you on that because I think it's so important to us not breaking things, not having bigger problems than we should. And that is when I brush my teeth with my little electric toothbrush, I stand on one foot for the first 30 seconds. And if you have one of those, it beeps at 30 seconds. And then I stand on my other foot by itself for 30 seconds and I go back and forth. When I started, I couldn't get past a few seconds. But now I can go a full minute on one leg, a full minute on the other leg. And if I wanted to, I could do 2 minutes on my leg. It didn't take long to really improve my balance with that one little thing. Now, it didn't help me with this. It hasn't helped me with that yet. But I am starting to look into more things I can do to improve my balance. So that'd be something for me to focus on under health. Another thing is sleep. I love to stay up late. I don't like to let go of the day. I want to have the day to learn and to do so many things. I have so many hobbies. And so a lot of times I stay way late up. So I need to start getting more sleep because it is a powerful force against Alzheimer's and dementia. It's when your brain is healing. They're doing so much research on it now. So I think the last thing I read said, at least 7 hours for us. And I'm going to keep reading on that because they keep coming up with new research. But I just know this, I know sleep is good. And it's something that we all need to be better. I think most of us need to be better. If you're really good at that, tell me some of your tips to get to sleep and how you manage to make that a really good habit in your life. And then I'm just going to mention quickly walking and stretching, moving. And that's a nice thing about living out here. I'm looking out on, the work that's out on my farm out here that I need to go out and do tonight. And that'll get me out watering the animals and doing some things that get me moving, keep me moving, lifting, stretching. But sometimes we have to be more intentional than just the things that are right outside our door. So that's something that I would say would be a good thing to put on that list of 5 things that can help you really live a rich, full life as long as you live. Okay, the last thing I'll mention, and this one probably is my favorite. Well, no, it can't be my favorite. There's so many. I mean, I love the whole purpose thing. I love the faith thing, the wisdom, all of it I love. But this one kind of ties all of those together, and that is wonder. I live in constant wonder of God's creation, and I'm infatuated with it. I love I love watching his creation. I love enjoying his creation. I love learning about how amazing it is. I'm going to take you out and show you an alpaca's eye one of these days and talk to you about how their eye is made. Now, if an alpaca's eye is this marvelous creation, then look into what your own. I just had cataract surgery here not too long ago. So I did a lot of research on my eye and how it works. And I'll tell you, it is such proof of a creator. I mean, It's just amazing. So I like to live in wonder, and I want to continue that. I want to talk to other people how they express that. I have a really good friend who's a wildlife photographer. I hope I can interview him for you one of these days so that you can hear about that because he takes the most amazing photographs of the wildlife in Idaho. And it's a passion, and it's a way that he's taken wonder and his passion for photography and married those two things. Um, I have other ways that I do that that are on my bucket list. You know, I love to paint and not like the walls, but like things, you know. And I'm not very good, but I have a little studio and I love to paint because it's the same thing. It's like it takes this, you know, my wonder at color and design and magnificence of creation and then allows me to even in an abstract way because that's the only thing I can do. I can't really do anything that looks very realistic. Um, and put it on paper and leave something that says, "Hey, I was here." And that's just a way I kind of fill up my need to be creative. But it's a passion, and it's taking your passion and wonder and kind of bringing them together. So I'd like to hear what are your passions, and do you have some that you've never pursued? Like painting was one for me. I pursued it only because my mom really needed a hobby that she could do at home and something that would fill her time. And she had a lot of physical, really, she just couldn't do a lot physically, but she could sit and paint. And so we started painting together. And I'm so glad we did because it became, I knew it was something I wanted to do, but I didn't realize how much I would love it. So that's kind of a cool thing. So those are some things I would say. If you haven't thought about it, listen to this. Psalm 19. Let me find it here. I want to read it to you right out of my Bible. Psalm 19 has always been one of my favorites because it's it's David saying a truth that I think has been known through the ages, you know, as people look up at the sky. And he said, "The heavens proclaim the glory of God. The skies display his craftsmanship. Day after day, they continue to speak." You see, I think God's creation does speak to us of him. It shows us things about his character, about his goodness, about his beauty. And this is what David said. He said, "They speak without a sound or a word." I think I left this out. Day after day, they continue to speak. They speak night and day. They make him known. I'm sorry. They speak without a sound or word. Their voice is never heard, yet their message, their message has gone throughout the earth and their words to all the world. So, wonder. That would be the fifth one on my list of things I want to focus on and lean into in this season of life where I know, you know, I know I don't have decades and decades and decades to enjoy and learn and be blessed by all these gifts that God gives us: faith, wisdom, purpose, and health. And if you're going through a difficult time with your health, you can run to Him and ask for help. And you know, in my experience, I've never personally been miraculously healed, but I've been really comforted through some difficult things with different diagnoses, and he's there in that too. And then, of course, wonder being a place where you can really find his presence as well. So those are my five things. I'd love to hear yours. You know, I'm going to continue on here on I am on Facebook too. You can follow me there, D Sarton. But I will continue here on YouTube. And these are just some of the things that I'll go in more depth, tell you some stories, do some interviews, continue to build this community so that we can learn and grow together, get to know each other better. And I thank you so much for watching today. And I'll be back. I'm going to try to do one of these a week, possibly one live a week and one recorded a week. So my goal is to do two, but it may take me a while to ease into that and learn all the technology and not have trouble like I did today getting the internet to cooperate. So thank you. Appreciate you guys. And remember always, always, there is more to come.